Far zoomed out from the little rock we commonly find ourselves looking upon, there are two timelines being created. Well, one timeline was already there, although now it is splitting into two separate halves. But what was the catalyst for this separation, the birth of a new timeline? Well, to answer that question, we're going to have to zoom back into Earth. More specifically, 3 miles off of South City, where in a small island town, two terrifying Terminator teenagers would be terrorizing the local population. Most of everybody there would die in mere moments. They were superhuman and had extraordinary abilities. They were murdering just for the sake of it and seemed to be having fun. They seemed to slow down at an amusement park, which was left standing after everything else in the city fell. Seems that the two superhuman kids still got a kick out of a Ferris wheel. The funnel cakes were to die for, and ironically, the guy serving them was the only one left alive. It didn't take long for the Earth's mightiest heroes to hear about what was going on, and even though they don't like getting involved in small things, tens of thousands of people dying in an afternoon isn't exactly small. So Piccolo would arrive on the scene. Interestingly enough, following close behind was Vegeta. Sure, the Saiyan Prince wasn't too interested in Earthling affairs, although whatever action Piccolo was getting into, he wanted a part of. And even if it was just small potatoes, only people about as strong as Nappa, it still means that everybody there was dead and the city would be an excellent fighting ground. Yeah, Vegeta's not the best person, although he is working on it. Sadly though, except maybe not for the prince, these were not small potatoes. 18 alone was able to handle Piccolo even when using Kaioken times 20. He would then reveal that he has a form beyond that technique. He takes a step back before then screaming out, unveiling the Super Namekian form, something he gained from having his potential unlocked by Guru. In case you're confused on what this looks like, it's the same form he showed off in Dragon Ball Super Superhero, before his orange form, but after getting his potential unlocked by Shenron. I'm not sure if it was ever 100% stated to be a transformation, although we're going to consider it one and make it about as strong as Super Saiyan. But this doesn't mean Piccolo is able to do much of anything against the androids. He should only be roughly as strong as Super Saiyan Vegeta from the original, meaning that 18 on her own is able to majorly outclass the Super Namekian. And as for Vegeta, well, he doesn't even have Super Saiyan, at least not yet. As the battle rages on and 18 is absolutely styling on Piccolo, 17 would be sitting on the sidelines just watching for fun's sake, and Vegeta's completely powerless. He would see his friend, the only real person he's connected to on this planet, being torn apart. But then something would just snap, something inside of him. He didn't care anymore. He didn't care about being the strongest, or his pride and his ego. All of the things that used to bog him down are now gone away. His hair would begin to spike up gold, as he has achieved something beyond just power. Now he has something to fight for. He has friends who he is not going to watch die. So as his power begins to soar up, his hair would spike gold. He looks to 17 and gets a smirk on his face. He's become a Super Saiyan. But against 17, this just wasn't enough. Piccolo would have them switch opponents, realizing that 17 was the stronger of the two, and Vegeta would fare far better against 18. He'd still be losing, but he has a better shot, whereas Piccolo has a secret trump card. As the two switch enemies and continue fighting, Piccolo would eventually unveil the Kaioken. He can only use it in short bursts. Because he has Super Namekian activated, he has to use it at low levels as well. Although when he does, it definitely turns the tables. He maximizes the technique's effectiveness while only using it in very short bursts, making sure to activate it whenever he's about to land an attack. He doesn't need it for speed. The android's cockiness allows him to get up close and land attacks, but if he wants those blows to actually pack a punch behind them, then that's where Kaioken comes in. But somehow, even this was only evening the playing fields, and Vegeta was still being majorly overpowered by 18. So Piccolo realizes he needs to end this quick, as these two don't seem to tire out, whereas the Z Fighters very much do. So he launches back, before then putting 2 fingers to his forehead. He's charging up a special beam cannon, and while using Super Kaioken, it doesn't take too awfully long. Thanks to 17's continued cockiness, he is willing to just stand there and take the attack, thinking that it can't be that strong coming from such a weakling. Well, as long as he doesn't activate that red aura thing, because then this might be a problem, but worst case scenario, 17 just has to get out of the way. And as sparks begin to fly from Piccolo's fingertips and energy begins swirling around him, he would activate Kaioken, up to ×3, then launching the special beam cannon. Not only did the power he wielded drastically exceed the androids, but it was also moving so fast 17 could barely react. A gigantic explosion would occur, although after the smoke clears it's revealed that 17 is barely even scathed. His shirt was torn and he had a slight bruise on his chest, although past that he was completely fine. Green sparkles of energy falling down, revealing that at the last second, he had used his energy barrier to block the attack. 17 would look over to his sister and tell her to hurry up with that supersonic ripoff. They have to go find him a new shirt because the green guy tore his old one. Obviously, Vegeta's enraged that he'd be treated like such trash, as if he was barely even a challenge, although he wasn't. Calling him anything other than a mild entertainment for the 2 teenagers was being generous. She would put her hands straight through Vegeta's chest, crushing his heart and killing him instantly. As for 17, he would try and use the same sort of spiraling beam attack that Piccolo used on him, although it wasn't that easy. Instead, he just uses a regular beam of energy that completely eviscerates the Namekian. While this relatively short fight was going on, you and Goku were getting suited up, feeling the energy flaring and wanting to know what was going on. You had heard about the 2 superpowered teenage guys from Bulma, although you didn't really pay much attention to it. You thought if they were really that big of a problem, someone else would deal with it, although apparently they tried to, and died trying. As for Goku, he had no idea about 17 and 18. All he knew was that Vegeta and Piccolo were getting really strong for one reason or another. And let's be real, that was enough for his call to arms. Both of you would arrive on the battlefield, although instead of seeing a successful Vegeta and Piccolo, you see what remains of their lifeless bodies. Vegeta on the ground and now reverted to base, and Piccolo who's nothing more than just dust on the floor. Honestly, you're having a hard time wrapping your head around it. 2 teenagers were able to do this to some of the world's strongest fighters, and now you can't even sense their key signatures. Come to think about it, they had to be pretty strong if this is what they're capable of, and you couldn't sense them earlier either. You take a moment to grieve over Piccolo's passing. Sure, you can always go to Namek to bring him back, but even if death is impermanent, it does still mean something. You lay him and Vegeta to rest, and vow to get revenge on whoever did this. Goku didn't really know either of them super well. It's not like they were his best friends or anything, although they were still people he cared about. So, seeing them needlessly killed like this, he's enraged, as well as all of the other humans who fell during the attack on this city. He would then embrace this anger and allow it to fuel his power, turning into the 2nd legendary Super Saiyan. Yeah, it's never really as cool as the first time. Although, now having the same power-up Vegeta did, he should be able to go head-to-head with the androids. Although he's only as strong as Vegeta was, meaning he's not going to fare the best. Realizing a 2-on-2 would probably only go about as well as it did for Piccolo and Vegeta, you decide to go and grab some other allies to help you. The first one up on your roster was Frieza. Sure, he's only a couple years old at this point, although given how Frost Demon's age, as well as his incredible power, he's mature and strong enough to lend a pretty helping hand in this battle. You'd also make sure to recruit Tien. He might not be the strongest person on Earth, although he did still go to Namek, and thus got some gravity training on the way back, meaning he is still pretty strong and at the very least would be a good distraction. And lastly, Gohan and Baksa would pretty much force themselves into the conflict. Gohan isn't going to let everybody else fight to defend him unless he's there on the front lines with them. And Boxa has incredible healing capabilities, meaning that anytime somebody goes down, it won't be for long. You make sure to tell her that if she's ever in any real danger, to teleport away immediately. And if the planet's ever in any danger, to go and grab her mom and teleport to Namek. Obviously, this is a worst case scenario, although you have no way of gauging just how strong 17 and 18 really are. So with everybody geared up and ready to fight, the 6 of you would all head off to the location that 17 and 18 were last spotted. You'd find those out by scanning the news, since obviously you can't sense where they are. They're surprised to see more people standing up against them. Sure, there were policemen who would fire off useless rounds at them, but now these are some people that actually stand a shot against them. Goku would go Super Saiyan and 18 would decide to take on the new Blondie, whereas you would rush at 17. Tien would lend assistance to Goku, not wanting him to go up against 18 alone, whereas Frieza jumps in to help you out. You would then activate your new transformation. It's the same one you used on Namek, although this time you're using it while it's still alive. You call it the Phoenix's Flame Undying Fire, or Superhuman if the other name is too long. I'm gonna stick with Phoenix's Flame though, just because it's cool. Seeing as, like your magic, this form comes from the cosmic energy around you, the better of an anchor you are to the universe, the stronger you are using this form. So while alive, it's a 50 times multiplier rather than the 20 times boost it was on Namek. Your magic is also much more potent. So as a tag team, you and Frieza are actually able to majorly overwhelm 17. Sadly, you can't use Kaioken while using this transformation. Unlike Piccolo, it doesn't have much to do with the strain that the form takes on you, but rather the fact that the energy you're getting isn't natural, and thus your body is already having a hard time regulating and controlling the energy you have. Kaioken would only make it so much worse, kind of like a balloon that's rapidly given air rather than a slow and gentle inflation. I swear to God, you internet heathens ruined the word inflation. It just sounds so dirty now. Anyway, back on topic, you and Frieza would be absolutely manhandling 17. That is, until Frieza's power would begin to dwindle. The less stamina he has, the less he's able to keep up with the android, and the more pressure that's put on you, and you're not able to bridge that gap so easily. You're only about as strong as a Super Saiyan, so without Frieza there to support you, you're nothing against 17. So quickly, Frieza would rush over to Boxa, who would give him a quick heal before the android realizes what just happened. He doesn't much like getting pummeled, and with Frieza back up to full, that's exactly what happens. So 17 targets onto Boxa, making sure there's no more quick heals. It doesn't work exactly like he intended though, as soon as he fires a blast, Boxa would teleport out of the way, just like you told her, heading over to the battlefield where Goku and Tien would be fighting against 18. Gohan would have joined in to lend assistance, and even though he isn't a Super Saiyan, he is still plenty strong. And with the 3 of them all ganging up on 18, there's not much he can do. She would eventually land Goku on the ground, realizing he's the strongest out of the 3 of them, then breaking his arm and throwing him into a building. Boxa would head over, healing him back up to full, before 18 even knows what happened. Sadly though, Boxa isn't great at healing others. Most of her magical know-how when it comes to healing is only for self-regeneration, not exactly patching up other people. She wagers she only has about 1 heal left in her, and not to be biased or anything, but that's for Dad in case he goes down. Although it doesn't seem like that's going to happen, as back with you in 17, Frieza would get the android into a chokehold, whereas you would be charging up a Masenko, a technique taught to you by Piccolo. It only seems fitting to end the fight with this attack. The android would begin squirming, attempting to break free as it sets into him that this is very well going to be his end. But even with his incredible power, Frieza's giving it his all, so it's not going to be that easy. He would attempt to activate his barrier, but with somebody latched onto him by the neck, that's not gonna work. It'd sooner blow up in his face before actually protecting him from anything, so he's screwed. Or at least that is until they hear screaming coming from the distance. It was coming from Android 18. So of course 17, with newfound determination, as well as Frieza being a little distracted, would be able to break free, rushing over to see what's troubling his sister. "You really saved my skin there, sis. Now what's going on?" Well, you seem to have caught us at a bad time.
I'm sorry for that. Brief interruption. What were you saying, brother of mine?
That power. That's what I sensed earlier. It has to be. How? How can anyone be this strong?
Don't worry, you. You'll have your turn in a moment.
And then, almost as if he was teleporting, Cell would instantly appear in front of 17, wrapping his tail around the android before swallowing him whole, absorbing him as if it was nothing.
It seems with a little magic and a lot of time, all of your problems can be solved. Isn't that right, you?
Cell says, now in his perfect form while glancing at Frieza.
Tell me, does he even know? Does he know that you killed him? Well, another him, but then again, I've killed another you. And at least I'm honest about it.
Master, what is he talking about?
He's trying to get in our heads. I'll tell you later, but for now, take Box and Gohan and get out of here now. See, that's the thing, you're not in control. He'll stay here.
Cell then launches a galactic donut-like attack, pinning Frieza to the wall of a nearby building.
After all, I have quite the story to tell him. Unless, of course, you'd like to take center stage. I didn't think so.
He's strong. Too strong. And his power, it feels like it's made up of every one of us. Whoever made the androids must have created this as well. It explains how he was able to absorb them like that. But if he's made up of all of us, then none of us should be able to beat him. That doesn't explain how he's here, though. How he knew what was going to happen. He targeted the weaker of the two androids, even though 17 was much more vulnerable. And things played out in a way where 17 still survived, clearly in his favor. He's probably messing with time. If he has my powers, then it's definitely in the realm of possibility. But he probably wasn't as strong as either of the androids before absorbing them. Meaning now he's just stronger, not unstoppable. And if he's made up of Goku and Vegeta, killing us now wouldn't do anything for him. So... with a simple flick of your wrist, you remove the galactic donut that was binding Frieza, before saying, "You've heard the truth. Now get to the lookout and we'll talk about it there, but it's not safe here."
Oh, that's cute. You think you're surviving this?
Yeah, I do. At least for now. Because I know you want a challenge. You have Saiyan blood flowing through your veins, and I know how they get. You want to test your new perfect power.
I'm listening.
All I'm asking is 14 days. 2 weeks, and then we're solid.
How insulting. I could give you 1,000,000 years and you still couldn't beat me.
Well, I'm not asking for that long. Just 2 weeks. At best, you get your perfect challenge. At worst, you lost half a month.
Fine. But when that day comes...
I know. One of us is going to die.